5 days from now, you could have a business that is ready to launch and make a profit. And if I were starting a business as a teenager today, here's how I would go about it. The first day, I would focus on coming up with a business idea. And to narrow things down a little bit, I would choose from a product or a service. I wouldn't pick an app or a blog or a YouTube channel as the business itself, because these can take a long time to start making money. Pick something you know you could launch relatively quickly. And then in terms of how to come up with the idea, I would ask yourself these two questions. Number one is, what am I already doing or interested in that I might be able to actually turn into a business? So for example, you love baking healthy snacks. Maybe you love to study and you could tutor others. Maybe you're really good at sports. You grew up taking care of horses. You're CPR certified and have younger siblings that you grew up babysitting. You get the idea. Basically, do you have any unique skills that you could leverage into a business? And question two, is there something you're interested in but not yet doing? So maybe you're wanting to learn gardening and you could offer your gardening services or weed pulling services to others as you're getting started. Or maybe you're learning how to crochet and you could sell the pieces that you're making as you're learning how to make them. You know, you'll be spending a lot of time in your business, and so you want the business itself to be something you're interested in. That way it carries your attention and you can stick with it. Now from these questions, you might have a bunch of different business ideas, and that's okay, because in day two, we're gonna start narrowing it down and refining the business idea. And I would do that in a few steps. First, I would look and see if I can find instances of other people successfully doing this business. If you can't find anyone else doing this business, honestly, I would view that as a red flag, because what it means is that people have probably tried it and it wasn't a good business idea. They didn't get enough traction to actually stay in business, and that's why you can't find anybody, because they're not around anymore. And so I think a lot of times we see competition as a bad thing, where if we see other people doing the same business we want to do, we think, oh no, like how am I gonna go get customers? I actually view competition as a really good thing, because it shows you that there's a market for the thing that you want to sell. So if you can't find anyone else doing this, I don't think I would choose that as my first business idea. Secondly, I would think through your business model, which is a fancy way for saying, how do you make money? So for instance, a blog can be pretty hard to monetize. There's a lot of things that have to happen before you actually make money. Whereas on the other hand, if you decide to start a shoe shining business in your neighborhood, it's pretty easy. You find people to shine their shoes, and you charge them for it. So you can kind of get a sense of how many steps are involved before I actually make money. And if you're deciding between different business ideas, I would default and lean towards doing the one that is really, really simple to make money. Next, I would think through, who are my first customers probably going to be? They're probably going to be your friends and family. So you can think through, of the different business ideas I'm considering, do I think my friends and family would actually buy this product or service from me? And if the answer is no, like it's not a good fit for anybody, then as your first business, I would probably stay away from that, because it's just gonna be harder to go find sales, get traction, build some confidence, and really build your business. And so I would definitely think of products that even your immediate circle, your friends and family would be interested in purchasing from you. And finally, if you're still deciding between your various business ideas, I would go with the one that you have a chance of making repeat sales to your customers. You know, not every product or service is meant to be purchased more than once, but some are meant to be, purchased on a recurring basis. And so it is going to be way, way easier to find, for instance, 20 people that buy from you every single month than it is to go find 20 new people every single month to buy your product or service. And so you can make a lot of money in a really good business just selling to the same 20 people over and over and over. You'll probably end up finding more than 20 people, but you get the idea. If you can find something that people buy from you on repeat, that is a great situation in a business that I would definitely strongly consider. Now, day three is where things start to really come to life. This is a very exciting day, and it's where you pick your business name and design your logo. Now, it's really easy to get hung up in this process and try to think of the perfect name and the perfect logo and really just spend so much time on it. But honestly, like, this is something that you can change and update later. Brands go through rebranding and renaming all of the time. You don't want to do it too much, but don't spend more than a day on this, certainly. And so you can use free tools online. Just go Google search for free logo tool, and there are tons. But another hack you can actually do if you have access to PowerPoint is just type in your business name, choose from a variety of standard fonts, or you can even go download unique free fonts, and then type out your business name. It'll look really cool. Right click on it, save it as an image, and boom, you have your logo. So I wouldn't spend much more time than this on it. And then one more thing is, if you're looking for some inspiration, remember back to your competitor research when you're trying to make sure there are other people doing the type of business that you're thinking about launching. Try to see what types of things they have in common in their logos. Is there something that's kind of generally, if you're in this industry, your logo should look and feel something like this, and you can use that as inspiration. So it's a really exciting day. It all comes to life, but don't let it slow you down either. Now, day four is perhaps the most important, and it's a step that most people skip. And while in day 5, we'll decide how much to charge for the product or service, before we get there, in day 4, we need to define exactly how much the product or service costs us to make in the first place. So to do this, you need to outline everything that goes into making one product or performing one service. I mean, literally everything. The materials used, the supplies that you'll need, any kind of cost that you have to put into this thing, you need to put on a piece of paper and then do the math to figure out how much this actually costs you. So for example, if you're selling cookies, you need to do some research to figure out how much a batch costs you and how many cookies do you get out of a batch. And then you can do some simple division to figure out what that means every single cookie costs you to make. Now keep this information handy because it'll become really important in a minute. Now on day 5, I would determine how much you're gonna sell your product or service for based on 3 things. Number 1, how much are other people selling similar products or services for? Number 2, what's the maximum amount I could reasonably charge here? And number 3 incorporates the research you just did in day 4, which is how much does it cost me to actually make the product or perform the service? You need to make sure the price of your product is at least 2 to 3 times more than it costs you to make it, so that you have adequate money left over to pay yourself and keep growing the business. Now from these 2 data points, how much you're gonna sell your product or service for, minus how much it costs you to actually provide that product or service, you can calculate your profit, which is just a fancy word for how much money did I make at the end of the day. Now the ninja tip here that a lot of people don't really think through before they start their business is to take your profit and divide it by how much time you think it will take you to make and sell one product or to perform one service. And when you divide one by the other, you can come up with your effective hourly rate. So for example, if you have a $10 service, doesn't cost you anything to perform that service, so your costs are 0, you have $10 of profit. And then if it took you an hour to perform that service, what's your hourly rate? Well, it's $10. And so you can then evaluate, okay, well, is that actually worth my time, or should I just go work somewhere for more than $10 per hour? Or the even better question is, how can I adjust how much I charge for my product or service, or how much it costs me to provide that product or service, to where I can get it to where I end up with a lot more than $10. So in that same 1 hour that it took me to generate money, I actually make $30 of profit. And now your hourly rate is $30, and that's a good gig. And so this is really, really simple math to do. Most people skip it and then they regret it later on once they've gotten into their business and they realize, man, this isn't worth my time. That's not gonna happen to you though, because you now have this information. And to help you execute the 5 days that I just outlined, we at Boss Club have put together a free 5-day startup challenge that is gonna help you launch your first profitable business in 5 days or less. It's a free 5-day course that covers everything I just outlined, but in way more detail, with daily videos and training designed to really guide you through every step of the process. You can join the challenge and get started literally right now over at bossclub.com/launch. It's totally free, and I promise it's just going to give you the structure that I wish that I would have had when I was starting my first business, to where you just go through the 5 days. It's very simple. You watch the videos, you respond to the videos, and do the instructions set out there, and you do it 5 days in a row or faster if you want. And at the end of it, you're gonna have your profitable business designed and ready to launch. I'm so excited to see what business you decide to launch by going through this course. And it's all available over at bossclub.com/launch. And I'll see you on the inside.